A nuclear war could break out any minute.
Kim warned the situation on the Korean Peninsula was, quote, touch and go, and went as far to say that a nuclear war could break out at any moment.
The state news agency of the government of Kim Jong-un branding President Trump a war merchant, a strangler of peace, claiming that by selling or giving weapons to South Korea and Japan, he is creating a hair trigger situation on the Korean Peninsula.
The United States needs to be very concerned. And actually, we are preparing for war right now because, as you mentioned, we're practicing the evacuation of American citizens. We're also doing something even more extraordinary, and that is we're looking at a Taiwanese ship because we want to know if it serve as a good hospital vessel for us. That is just something unprecedented, and that means that the Pentagon really is thinking about going to.
A recent poll shows increasing U.S. support among Trump's Republican supporters for a preemptive strike to take out North Korean nuclear or ballistic missile sites.
The U.S. Navy involved in exercises all this week in the waters off the east and west of the Korean Peninsula, including the USS Michigan nuclear-powered submarine, which can be equipped, we are told, with as many as 154 Tomahawk cruise missiles, and reportedly could have on board a special force team that could take out the North Korean leadership if need be. All told, we're talking about 40 ships from the U.S. Navy's 7th Fleet involved, featuring the aircraft carrier USS Ronald Reagan, as well as destroyers, fighter jets, other aircraft, all running maneuvers with the South Korean military. Erica, the North Korean regime has called these exercises a rehearsal for invasion.
As a pretty blunt message to us and to them. And as you just said, they remain defiant. So how has North Korea responded? With more anti-U.S. rhetoric this weekend?
Absolutely. Over the weekend, the propaganda machine of the North Korean regime working overtime.
North Korea says the Trump administration's hostile intent and the increased joint military drills with South Korea happening this week further justify its need for a nuclear deterrent. North Korea, in turn, is expected to test another long-range missile soon. Neither side is acting to reduce tensions as they remain locked in what seems a deadly game of brinksmanship.
I hear there's a decapitation team, this special forces unit that is running some of the joint drills with the South Korean military. What does that say to you? And is that a literal decapitation team? What does that mean, that phrase?
Well, it means that they're trying to go after the leadership of North Korea, which really means Kim Jong-un. And of course, all militaries practice this. What is different here is that we're actually talking about it in public, because normally that's not done. And really what they're trying to do, of course, is scare and intimidate Kim Jong-un. I'm not so sure that it really does. I mean, it'd be very difficult to get at him unless we were doing it with a missile.
Yeah.
But actually putting people on the ground to try and find him, that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, it seems, well, who knows? I don't know that anything is out of the realm of possibility. Sure. And, we've, especially after the Osama bin Laden raid, special forces are quite imaginative, and they spend a lot of time strategizing and preparing. So that wouldn't surprise me.
I feel stronger and tougher on that subject than other people.
A new round of combined military exercises carried out by Seoul and Washington designed to hone interoperability and communication by the two forces. This one comes on the backdrop of the possibility of further provocations from up north. Yoon Shin starts us off with the 10-day drills.
Another round of joint military drills by South Korea and the U.S. kicked off Monday in the waters both east and west of the peninsula. As many as 40 naval vessels from the two allies are involved in the exercises, including the nuclear-powered aircraft carrier USS Ronald Reagan, which holds up to 70 aircraft from fighter jets to helicopters, and the 18,000-ton submarine USS Michigan, packed with some 150 Tomahawk cruise missiles. South Korean attack helicopters, defense units, and warships such as the Sejong the Great Aegis-armed destroyer have also been deployed for the training exercise. In addition, the U.S. is using the Joint Surveillance Target Attack Radar system during the drills, monitoring North Korea's ground and naval movements up close. The U.S. Navy described the purpose of the operation as to check the allies' communications, interoperability, and partnership. However, there are concerns that Pyongyang may protest against the military exercise with additional provocations, as joint drills like these have antagonized the North in the past. The military remains on alert, as officials from Seoul also raised the possibility of another missile launch from North Korea around the date of China's 19th National Congress of the Communist Party on October 18th. Pyongyang's latest threats included a nuclear test and a ballistic missile launch only a month ago.
That's one reminder, Eric, of how close everything is on that Korean peninsula.
So who will flinch first?
North Korea has made clear it won't engage in diplomacy with Washington until it has achieved its goal of developing a long-range missile capable of reaching the eastern coast of the United States. And despite growing international pressure, North Korea is still refusing to back down, telling the United Nations that negotiations are off the table.
A nuclear war could break out any minute. That warning from North Korea's deputy ambassador to the United Nations. He told a UN committee Monday that his country has been subjected to, quote, an extreme and direct nuclear threat from the United States. The deputy ambassador also warned that all of the North American mainland is within their firing range. Things have been more than tense between the U.S. and North Korea thanks to increasingly tough UN sanctions and the war of rhetoric between President Trump and Kim Jong-un, trading insults like Rocket Man and mentally deranged. The president has ruled out talks with Pyongyang, but Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said just a few days ago that diplomacy will continue until the first bomb drops.
I think we have a soundbite of Representative Nancy Pelosi. Maybe we don't. Well, she took partisanship to a bizarre degree by defending, if you could continue to roll, the terror state of Iran against the Trump administration's refusal to recertify Iran's adherence to the nuclear deal it signed with the Obama administration. Do we have that soundbite? Just play the soundbite, and then I want to go to our guest.
President Trump's refusal to recertify is a grave mistake that threatens America's security and our credibility at a very critical time.
Here now, you know, we've had a lot of segments, Colonel North. That's Oliver North, of course. This today of you just don't know what to say when you have an American politician siding with the terrorist government of Iran over the United States government. What do you say?
Well, you say, was she paying attention last Friday when the president stood up in front of all the cameras in the world and announced Congress has 60 days to come up with amendments to replace the JCPOA, as they call it, or the Kerry deal? Look, there is no doubt the Iranian deal is a very bad idea. Here's a quick summary. One, there are so many loopholes and sunset provisions and blind spots that the Iranians can be in compliance with the deal by funding and working with the Democratic People's Republic of North Korea on a nuclear weapons and ICBM program. Number two, there are no consequences for Iranian noncompliance, and the so-called Iranian or Obama snapback sanctions was ludicrous right from the start.
Well, everything. There's another ludicrous thing, which is to assume, as the deal does, that they want to do their nuclear research for, and I'm quoting from the deal, exclusively peaceful purposes. Who believes that an oil-rich terror nation has exclusively peaceful purposes for developing nukes?
Well, apparently Nancy Pelosi believes that. I mean, look at the IAEA, the United Nations International Atomic Energy Agency, is responsible for inspecting Iranian military sites. They're not allowed in. The Kerry deal makes absolutely no mention of other Iranian bad behavior. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and their Quds Force are running amok in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Bahrain, Yemen, Sudan, you name it, they're there. And all he's asking for is Congress to step up to the plate and grant him the ability to put on new sanctions against the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. And by golly, that has to happen. Otherwise, nuclear proliferation is going to explode, no pun intended.
The question is, what happens now? And the Iranians can cause a lot of mischief in one place in particular, in Iraq, where we still have our troops, and where the Kurds, probably the bravest fighters against ISIS in the world, are now finding themselves fighting the Iraqi forces, which are largely Iranian-backed because they're Shia Muslims. What's going to happen there, quickly?
Look, the Iranian army and the Iranian-supported militias, they call them PMUs, Provisional Military Units, have moved into force into territory long regarded to be part of the Kurdish autonomous government. According to messages I received today from the Peshmerga friends that I've got out there, there's been heavy fighting outside and now inside Kirkuk. When our War Stories team was there last November, we met with Kurdish President Barzani. We got pictures to prove it, okay? He gave me a map, and there's a photo of the map up there in the file, a photo of the map that he drew showing, by the way, the Kurdish territory includes Kirkuk, and that's the city that's now under attack by Iranian-supported militias against the Kurds, the only real friends we've got in this.
Vice President Mike Pence did his part to assure Japanese representatives that the U.S. is ready and able to stand up to North Korea.
The United States of America will continue to bring the full range of American